All right, so we got our soft mat and our core mat, and we even created an out mat to cut off all the junk that we had along the outside. But I still think we can do better. We've lost some detail in the hair up here. There's a few little sizzles that we've got to get working. So I think the first order of business would be to get the best mat possible. So we'll work on that detail mat next. To do that, I'm just going to use a regular Luma keyer, because if we look at the red, green, blue, and luminance, so there's blue, there's green, and there's luminance. Green, luminance. You can see there's pretty good density in there to pull a mat. I think we could probably, the green channel looks like it's got a little bit more to go from than the luminance. So let's just use a keyer, and we'll do a channel keyer based on the green channel. So rather than using luminance mode, we're going to use green keyer, which will essentially do a channel key off of the green channel, similar to a Luma key, but using the raw green channel. So we'll view it here, and now I'm looking at the alpha channel. And the goal is to adjust this keyer really only to just bring the detail through. I'm not even really too worried about the density of the core, other than maybe the density of the gain of some of these details. But I don't want to push this so hard that these things start to clump up either, because I am going to be combining it with another mat. So I'm going to leave this really kind of loose for now, just enough to capture this detail of this hair. But you'll notice, because the screen is so unevenly lit, I've got a lot of areas that are kind of unusable. All this area above here, I can't just combine this mat in without also picking up all this contamination. But since he doesn't move his head very much, we can probably just use a roto shape to isolate the area that we want to bring through. So I've created a roto shape here, and we're going to use the same operation that we've used before to combine this mat with our soft mat and core mat. Now it looks like we're probably still going to have to touch this mat up a little bit as well, but let's get this combined in first. So I'm going to use the same operation as I did to bring these two mats together, a max. And I'm going to connect the keyer to the A pipe of my max, and then the other mat to this one. And the reason for that is, in order to use my roto shape, I'm going to use the mat input of this max node. Now when you connect a mat or a mask to the mask of a merge operation, what you're telling it to do is to only do that merge operation inside that mask. And the channel, or the input I should say, that gets masked is the A input. That's why it was important that we do it in this order. So let's look at this here to see what we're looking at. See, if we'd maxed these two together without the mask, I'll disconnect the mask. This is what we would have gotten. But by only masking it into that area, now we're getting a little spot fix where we're bringing our detail mat in and maxing it back to the rest of our mat solution. Let's check this out down here to our add mix and see what we're getting. Ooh, yep. So I maxed all the channels together. Let's do the same trick we did earlier, and we will disable the RGB channels for the A input, so that I'm only bringing in the alpha channel from A. And that'll allow me to pass the RGB channels through here and use the RGB channels if I like. I have a feeling we're probably going to be doing a lot more work on the screen suppression, so we might not be using all of this, but we might use some of it. So there we go. We've got a lot more of that detail coming through. But we still have some sizzly things that I think we're going to have to deal with. And we still have to tune above this. You'll notice that I brought some detail in, but I noticed that the matte was kind of fuzzy. So I think that's what's happening here with my, with my adjustments to that matte. Now that we've brought all of this extra detail matte in, we might be able to get a lot more destructive with our tweaks to that matte. Let's not blur this one quite so much. Let's look at the final result here, and then our detail matte. Our detail matte is restoring a lot of that detail that we blew away, but unfortunately it's also not able to fill in the core. So I need to use some of that. Just got it to the admix. Just kiss in a little bit of blur again. Now this would be an excuse to maybe, as I mentioned before, crank up the gain a little bit of this detail matte. As long as we don't, because you'll notice this part of his hair is in fact opaque. Always a fine dance with how much to do, but that's looking pretty good. So next thing we're going to work on is the screen suppression and the de-spill of the foreground, because he's still got some spill happening and he's got some messed up edges that are a side effect of the de-spill algorithm that we're picking up from this IBK gizmo. So we're going to roll our own and we're going to improve the quality of this de-spill.